So today we're going to be talking about a film that was released yesterday, Just Mercy. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you go see it.
Go see
and
that.
Yeah, we finna get right into it.
Go see that. This movie right here really touched close to home with me. I got a lot of friends incarcerated. I got a lot of people I know that fell victim to the system. And growing up in Alabama, you see a lot of, even just in the South, you know, we was one of the last states to be freed.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we still have to deal with racism, segregation, when a lot of the world was just living freely and moving around how they wanted to. And I really feel like this movie really depicted the struggle, you know, that we go through.
Of black people today,
Absolutely.
still.
Black people, specifically, like our people, man. Like, this man was coming home from work, you know, and was straight blindsided and never got it. Like, he got to see his family again eventually, for those that saw it. And if you didn't see it, go see it. But, you know, it's just a struggle, man. It's just like, how can you call yourself citizen, or what are they, I guess a police officer is they're supposed to obtain the law,
right, and
uphold justice. And that wasn't justice, man. Like, this shit wasn't justice. And every day, you know, we fall victim to injustices, and it's just fucked up. Like, just to be straight up, man, it's fucked up. And I just feel like, you know, people really need to do their research and do their homework and see what they can do to help make some changes out here,
right,
because changes are coming, and a lot of changes have been made, but it's still,
it ain't fast enough though.
It's not fast enough, and it's still going on to this day. Like, it's still happening to this day.
Right.
Like my man said, to this day. Like, that shit real, man. Like, folks are struggling out here. Like, man.
One thing about the film that stuck out to me was one of the main characters said it's hard trying to do what's right when you're guilty from the moment you're born.
Absolutely.
That crowd was like, dang. Yep. You know how people be like, so-and-so said this, I felt that, because I'm like.
Absolutely. It's kind of like the saying, all right. It's like black men are born with 2 strikes. You're a male and you black.
Absolutely. My Dave's tell me that every day before I walked out the house. He said, when you walk out this house, you need to understand 3 things. Well, it was 3. You know what I'm saying? You smart, you young, and you black. You know what I'm saying? You a male and you black. Like, as soon as we walk out here and we enter these situations and altercations may occur, you know, when them cops pull you over, they're already looking at you. They want a reason to shoot you. They want a reason to arrest you and take you down. Like, no matter how much positivity you're doing, you know what I'm saying? We see it all the time. We see it every day. So it ain't no reason to beat the dead horse. But, you know, this movie really depicted that struggle, man. And I really feel like, you know, it allows people to see the inside of it and to see what from the inside it feels like being on death row or just being locked in a system where you got to fight your way out. You know what I mean? You get taken away. It kind of just reminded me of 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah.
You know, I saw that. You know, when they kidnapped this free man and took him and enslaved him, and he was just a regular Joe. But he wasn't even just a regular Joe. He was an educated black man. He had a family, a wife, kids, and they took the man and made him a slave for 12 years. And that's also a true story.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's just like that same cycle, man. It's been going on since him. Then you see the same story with my man Johnny D. And it's just like when will this shit stop? You know what I'm saying? Hopefully soon we'll be able to actually rise up above all the bullshit. But this movie did a good job, man. It really, I just think it did a good job just depicting that story.
Absolutely. I think Jamie Foxx played the hell out of Johnny.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Like, he played the hell out of Johnny.
That was some good acting.
Great acting. It almost made you forget that Jamie Foxx was actually Johnny D. You started thinking Johnny D was a different person type deal. Shout out to Michael B. Jordan too. His acting skills are getting better. Thank you. But he played the young lawyer. I can't remember his name. I can't think of his name. Brian Stevenson is played by Michael B. Jordan, man, and that is the lawyer that defends Johnny D., which is who Jamie Foxx plays. I think that was tremendous acting. Excellent. I think everyone in that role,
even the white racist people, they had me hating them, and they probably ain't even racist for real.
Man.
And it was so subtle. It was so subtle. By
subtleties.
When you watch it, the looks they gave him in the courtroom, unless you really been in that situation and you've been in the courtroom facing them prosecutors and facing somebody,
you know those looks.
Bam you up.
Absolutely.
Like, man, that was real. Like, just the intent behind it and the way that Michael B. Jordan portrayed the lawyer that was fighting for an innocent man. You know, he did a great job. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to him. That was a very good job acting.
Strong.
And it was just good. Like, it was they did. You could tell they did some homework. They
did
some
their
real
homework.
Studying.
It was convincing. Everybody played the role to the point where you almost forgot who they were.
Right.
I also want to say that it gives you an insight, like you said before, man, on how the justice system really isn't just for us, right? It's just really designed for the rich and those with the right skin tone, right? So if you are black, it really pointed out how you can have a witness recant, you can have another witness come forward and say, I was with the witness that falsified his witness or his testimony, whatever you want to say, and they still will try to convict you. It goes to show you it's also a numbers game. And it also proves as to why the numbers, what they say, like 70% of the jails in America are black. So, and we incarcerate more people in America than we do anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It goes to show you. And true enough, only 7% of the prisons are privately owned. But you got to think about where these prisons are and why they are where they are, right? So most prisons are in small towns, and that prison, if there's not a factory, that feeds that entire town.
Yeah.
You understand? So they have to keep that packed to capacity. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a report that comes out later that says that judges are getting paid or a kickback from how many people that they incarcerate. I just wouldn't be surprised. I don't think it'll ever leak, but if it does leak, I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised either.
Because
I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to, like, while we're talking about that, it really goes to show you the Constitution was not made for black people.
Absolutely. That's why there are amendments.
Of course not.
Exactly. Right. And then, like, if you watch the movie and you see how they was denying this man's motion, no matter what evidence he presented, he's telling y'all, like, the victim or the witness recanted.
Yes.
You have no facts for this case.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Constitutionally, this shit, we shouldn't even be right here.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, this constitutions were put in place in a time in the world where we was considered 3/5 of a man.
Absolutely.
Black folks was 3/5 of a human being when they made this. When they wrote that list and everybody signed there, John Hancock and George Washington, and everybody came together and said, this is what we're gonna. We the people. We weren't included in that. We the people.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We weren't even considered a person.
Absolutely.
So it's just like it really just goes to show like how little they think of us,
Yeah.
thought of us, and think of us.
Yeah.
Because that shit is still in place. We still living off the same outdated bullshit ass Constitution was.
And people don't be confused. This was not the early. This was late 1990s, 1980s, early 1990s, late 1980s. Like this was yesterday, basically.
Yes. When y'all watch it,
Like,
when you were born, some of y'all. Like when were you born?
1996.
When were you born?
91.
91. So I was born in 86. Right, so I would have been. This happened in 80. I'd have been 2. Y'all weren't even born yet.
Your family was chilling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your parents, all our
minding their
loved ones,
business.
He was just chilling, and this man was in prison, fighting for his life because in a small town where he just didn't have the means and the people didn't care.
I didn't have the means, and he made the mistake of sleeping with a white woman.
Also, and a lot of white people today get on black people because they always say it's not about race, but it is though.
Yes.
It always is. Y'all made it that way.
Right, and we wouldn't have the race card if it was never dealt to us.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying.
People have to remember that. We wouldn't have that race card to play if it was never dealt to us. Everything that we say as far as race, well, most of it, when we pertain to race, it's because of something happened.
Right.
Now, whether or not they choose to acknowledge that it happened or they want to say, well, my favorite line is, yeah, well, I didn't have any slaves, but you definitely benefited from.
Right.
The system that allows you to walk around free and the society that allows you to walk around free while I have to be cautious on what color hoodie I have on.
What time I'm going out at night.
Exactly. How I drive my car, what kind of car I have, what neighborhood I live in, what neighborhood I'm driving through. Right. All of that plays a factor in my day-to-day life where you say, well,
still today.
Yeah. Well, I don't understand. I mean, y'all are still mad about that. Yes, because you still haven't made an atonement for it yet.
Absolutely.
This country hasn't done that yet.
Yeah, black people, we way too forgiving.
Yeah. I mean, it's in our spirit. And sometimes I feel like, man, when they got off that boat and tried to talk to us, you should have just killed them. I hate to say it, but we wouldn't be where we at.
A long time ago.
And just imagine if black people weren't as forgiving as we are, right? Think about that.
Man, we would have been empowered. We would have been. Malcolm X told you, like, segregation. Okay, people have a lot of issues. Well, when the segregation was going on, and Martin Luther King was saying, can we all just live together? Be together, peace and unity, it's a good perspective.
Right.
In a perfect world.
Mm-hmm.
We don't live in a perfect world.
Right.
We do
Malcolm
not.
X told you strap up and get ready and separate yourselves. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Like the most honorable Farrakhan and the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, they told you black people should have been separated themselves from the others, came together, became strong and empowered, and we would have been on top. You know what I'm saying? Would have been on top. That's my perspective on that. I just feel like, as black people, it was a time and a place where we had a space. We had a Black Panther Party, we had Black Wall Street. It was a lot of communities that
Auburn
were coming
Avenue.
together.
Yeah.
Yep. In Atlanta, we had Auburn Avenue. We had Bankhead Highway. Bankhead Highway was a, how can you say this? It was a black haven where young professionals and young business owners were thriving before crack hit. So you got to think we had manufacturing places, we had shoe places, we had car places, all these mechanic shop people come to Bankhead to come get their stuff fixed. That's why if you look at some of the buildings, they're old like car shops and stuff like that if you look at it. And there are a lot of mechanics still over there who still just kind of got it from their grandfather and so forth. And then also Auburn Avenue used to be the place to be. That's where King grew up at.
Mm-hmm.
And you got pretty much, I don't know if you're from, y'all from Atlanta for real?
Yeah.
All right, so a lot of people don't know that, let's say, Ponce de Leon was the red line for Atlanta. So everything south, pretty much I-20, if you look at the map, that was the red line. That's where black people lived before we started spreading out and starting to dominate because of our certain segregation, if that makes sense, right? So we were educating our own through the AUC, right? So that's on the west side, which is still on the 20 line. And then we migrated towards what they call Techwood, which was, and Bankhead was also like a poor rural white neighborhood. So we took over that as well because we had the money. Right. So now that's why I understand when people say, yeah, we were segregated, we were better. We had more money. We were functioning on our own. We weren't dependent on anything. We had everything we had infrastructure, right? We were vertically integrated with everything that we did. Now, because of integration, which I don't have a problem with like me being pro-black doesn't mean anti-white, right?
Absolutely.
So I want people to understand that too.
Yeah.
But I am proud to be black, and I think that's important. You know what I mean? So, but there's nothing wrong with mingling with other races and doing business with other races and being friends and loving whoever the fuck you want to love. But at the same time, if it's being more harm done shopping with them versus shopping with your own, and we're upset because, I can't go to Buckhead and buy this without being followed, or I can't go to Starbucks, or I can't go to, I ain't going to say Starbucks because they have actually a 70% black chair board. So if you look at their CEOs and the people that run that stuff, 70% of that is black, their board. So I'm not gonna say Starbucks, but let's say Saks Fifth or Nordstrom's or Barney's.
Yeah,
Barney's has been in trouble.
All them, what is it? Versace, Ferragamo, all these stores, Gucci.
And you're surprised that Gucci. See, this is another thing that I don't like about it, because we don't have our own infrastructure. We don't shop with our own. We're supposed to support Gucci because they got Dapper Dan. We forget that they sued Dapper Dan in the 80s and 90s when he was taking their print.
Yeah, he was faking. He faked till he made it. That's
right.
promise.
Yeah. And now they got to rock with him, because now black people are saying, we ain't really rocking with that. But then you turn around, you hire Dapper Dan, we're about to start rocking with you completely. And now I'm torn because I want to rock with Dapper Dan, but A, you don't promote his stuff, but then B, you put out a minstrel show, Monkey, you know what I mean, and some lips, a ski mask with the lips type deal. So you do both. You have the mask and you feature it inside of your prominent opening collection. So that means that's what you're going to put out and mass produce. So you think it's okay to make a mockery of us. Now, you might not have seen it. If you don't see the minstrel show, you never watched the minstrel show, or some of the Disney movies that are on Disney Plus, I suggest y'all check them out, and you'll see how they depicted us. Our lips were super pink and bright.
All the shows, Pinocchio,
right.
Dumbo,
big noses,
Snow White,
and big lips.
You know what I mean?
Everything. They was playing us, man. That's why, like I said, we're very forgiving people. We're very loving people.
Right.
But it really, at the end of the day, it just goes to show, I feel like this. The fact that black people are that forgiving and that loving, it shows that naturally we're not threatened. You know what I'm saying?
Well, we shouldn't be.
We're not, and we can't be.
We shouldn't
know what I'm
be.
saying? Now, to turn it, I'm not
That was
anti-white.
a good point you made.
Yeah, we're not threatened by them. Like, see, genetically, a white person is naturally threatened by black people, because if we're the only race that can make an albino baby.
Yep.
We're the only race.
Black and white, technically.
Yeah, we have all of that inside of us, and I believe everything that creates the earth, everything you find in the earth, every material, atom, molecule, piece of matter you find in the earth is inside of the black man's body. And this is all scientifically proven. That's my word for it. Go do your research or whatnot. But it's
Carbon.
just like we're just genetically not threatened. I don't even want to say superior, even though take it for how you want it. But it's just so unfortunate to see. And then in the most honorable prophet, Farrakhan made a point to say on Oprah. I believe if y'all go back and look at the Oprah interview when she had Farrakhan on, he talked about how white people they feel so threatened by us because honestly, it's just guilt. It's the guilt that they have because they know what they did to us as a people.
Exactly.
And they know that, or they fear that if we were ever to come in power, we would do to them what they did to us.
Right.
And we're so forgiving that we don't do that.
Right. And it's not in us naturally. Black people are loving people.
We're just loving people.
Naturally. We are only threats when we have to be. Or when you put us in environments, situations.
Where we feel like we have to protect ourselves.
Protect ourselves.
Who isn't?
Right. Or adapt. See? So like look at Chicago now. You put these kids and these people in a place where the education sucks. The teachers are on strike 2 out of the last 5 years, right? You turn around and there are no jobs in the inner city for African Americans besides blue collar, hard labor. He finna start that shit. But blue collar, hard labor jobs, right? So now, if I'm a young person and I've watched my parents grow up, and I'm growing up and I watch them struggle, and I watch them go to work every day to never progress, and we still in the same environment after 18 years, why would I want to go take that same path? Now you've got, let's say, what was that? So 18 years, and then I see my parents struggle, and they never get a promotion. We've never moved out of this neighborhood. He's been doing the same thing. I'm not going to choose that same path, but I don't have any other option but to go to the street now, right? Because there aren't any jobs that are going to pay anything. I don't have the education to go anywhere because 9 out of 10, my school isn't as accredited as I would like it to be. You feel what I'm saying? Or has the stature where I had hand-me-down books and stuff like that. So now you got to think about what happens. Well, now that we're dependent on what everyone else does versus ourselves, we're not recycling our dollar and keeping our neighborhoods, and patrolling our neighborhoods and having a standard in which that we say, okay, your grass got to be cut. You can't have 4 cars parked in your driveway or 4 cars parked. Why are you parking on the street and you got a garage? If it's that many people in the house, then y'all need to figure out how to expand your house. Stuff like that, right? Which is what stuff that they do and tools that they use to keep their properties up. But we also understand that in order to do that and set our own ranges, we got to get in these rooms and have a seat at the table, right? Where we can say, man, okay, we decide and determine what our houses are worth. Right? Not anyone else. These are our neighborhoods. These are our schools. So we got to train our own. We got to teach our own. We got to develop our own. Because if not, everywhere is going to look like that. Or they can come in and gentrify exactly where you are. Right. And every major city is going through that. And was back to the movie, right? If you paid attention to just the difference, right? He was driving on a nice road, and then he made that right turn, and he went to a dirt road.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
Right?
It kept them separated.
Exactly. So they
way out in the middle of nowhere, family, and even though they had community love, they had friends and family were coming together to support this man. That words still wasn't enough.
Right.
It wasn't valid enough.
Right.
You know what I mean? Their testimony, they didn't even let them speak at his tribe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Had
saying?
them standing up in the back. Yeah.
So we just gotta educate ourselves. You know what I'm saying? I mean, now we have an advantage because it's 2020. So now they look at us a little bit differently. We can go and do our research, and we can walk in those rooms with our chests out, and people gonna have to respect it. You know what I'm saying?
They may not like it.
Yeah, and they may not like it. A lot of them don't, but they're gonna listen. And in those times, they ain't even listen. And that was the plight of Johnny D, man, because he had witnesses. People saying he was there. He was nowhere near this murder when this thing took place.
No hard evidence.
No evidence.
Faulty
no
representation.
Evidence. Not hard evidence. None at all.
I mean, he had everything, and they pulled their money for him, and it still wasn't enough, right? And then you think about, let's just look at Johnny D, right? More than likely, he didn't have a high school education. Yeah. The first thing he did was start talking. When he gets pulled over, is certain things like the main thing that is important to teach your child is all you're required to say is, hello, my name is whatever. If you are suspected of committing a crime, hand over your license, right? If you get pulled over, just hand it over to get the shit over with. You know what I'm saying? And your registration, keep all that up to date. Now, where you going? I'm not at liberty to tell you that. I don't answer questions. Or it could be, I'm going home. Where are you coming from? I'm coming from work. But stop giving so much information and feeling like you have to speak. You have the right to remain silent. That is your right. You have
the right to remain silent. Right?
So, and I felt like the first thing I said was, man, he talking too much. But the main thing that we do is because we feel like, well, I'm not doing anything wrong. But they're going to create a story to hang you with that same thing. Right?
Because he was saying, I work for myself. I do this.
Exactly.
You work for yourself, so now you have no alibi. No one can vouch for you.
Yep.
That you were even at work because you work for yourself.
Exactly.
And that's the first thing that came to my mind too. Like,
and he's like, he gave him everything they needed to know. Oh yeah, I work for myself. I ain't got no balls. Yeah, man. No, that's a nice truck you got. How did you afford that? You must be selling. No, I didn't. So no, my whole thing was, That's what I was like. Oh, thanks. Appreciate you.
Right.
Now I know you work for yourself. Yep. This gonna be real easy. Mm-hmm. You ain't got no coworkers, just you.
Who you work for?
Myself.
I got a job in the city. I wouldn't even answer that. I said, sir, why you pull me over?
They was waiting on him though. They had the guns drawn.
They
as soon as he came to the damn stop.
They knew it and understand that.
He told him, I won't even. He said, "You need my license." He said that won't even be necessary. Mm-hmm. Mine was already made up. He was going down that night.
Exactly.
It was already a wrap.
Exactly, man.
Unfortunately.
And that's also be a lesson to be faithful to your wife.
And then went straight to death row.
Yeah, went straight to death row.
No trial.
Not a county. Nothing. Not sitting in ad seg. He went straight to death row in a prison, right? And then the way they got
before the trial.
Should we tell the movie? So I guess we already telling the movie anyway, right? I mean, it's public knowledge anyway, so I guess we just going to say that.
But it's all public knowledge. All this is in the state.
The fact that they had the main witness sitting on death row with him, who was convicted for murder, all right, and sitting closest to the electric chair to kind of scare him into snitching not even snitching because it's not even the truth, falsifying testimony on Johnny D. Shows you just how dirty that the game can be, man. And that movie right there, I feel like it's one movie where I think you should take your children.
Definitely.
It's like a Roots, or it's like a 12 Years of a Slave, where you had to take them and say, listen, this was probably a little after you were born. You know what I mean? Especially if you have teenage children about to start driving and stuff like that.
Right.
Let's go ahead and let's go see this movie. Support. A, the cast is mostly black. B, it's actually got a nice budget behind it. C, it's got a good theme. And we can just go on and on and on about how great this movie was. And it's a great ending, man. And it's a true story. And I also like the fact that they didn't over dramatize it too much. You know what I'm saying?
Not at all. Like, they kept it very relatable. It was very much so the state of black people at that time and where they were.
Right.
In Alabama.
Right.
He wasn't far, his beliefs weren't far fetched. He was telling you know where you at? You in Alabama.
Absolutely.
These folks gonna have their way. You know what I'm saying? And that's all he knew.
Right.
It wasn't like he had all these outside influences. All he knew was right around him, and he knew he didn't stand a chance.
Right.
He said these folks gonna do whatever. They fucking with you, ain't they, boy?
Right.
Like he knew. He told him like after he got pulled over, they fucking with you, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And man, even Brian Stevenson, he had to deal with the racism. They made him strip. You know what I mean?
As a lawyer,
like a free man going, not even free, but just a prosecutor is nothing but a lawyer.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? These DAs and district attorneys, they're attorneys. Just like a private attorney works for a criminal or what you might call a criminal or whoever. Somebody's fighting for their freedom. The people on the state side, they're just fighting for the state.
Right. Conviction rates. Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And you making him strip and take his clothes off and dehumanizing him just because he's a black man in the state of Alabama.
And emasculated him. They wanted to bend over and cough as if he was a criminal. And
they told him, nah, it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay, because I would have bugged the whole time. I just would have went to the warden and did something. I don't know, but that was just putting him in his place and letting him know exactly where he was at. This ain't Delaware. Like, he's from Delaware. He was a Harvard graduate. And imagine being a Harvard graduate lawyer being told to strip before you want to visit a client, as if you were a criminal. Even if, I don't know if y'all visit anybody in prison. When you visit somebody in prison, they make you sit on a chair and you go through like a couple of metal detectors and all that stuff, but you don't strip.
Yeah, you don't.
Completely naked. You empty your pockets, but you can't take phones and watches, but you don't
lawyers
strip.
are supposed to even have even more freedom and peace of mind when they're going into somewhere like that, because they're going on official government business.
Exactly.
Right.
The same way the DA is fighting that man, trying to hold him down, the attorney for him is there to uphold justice.
Right.
Excuse me. They're both there to uphold justice. So right or wrong, it's all about finding justice. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
They did my man's really dirty. But like we said, they kept it all very realistic. They kept it all in perspective.
Right.
Nothing was over exaggerated.
Right.
And just to key in on like the fact that it still happens every day. You know
Right.
what I mean? That's why it's just one of those movies where it's like it speaks to the consciousness of the black society, where we need to be able to understand, our rights for one.
Yes.
Two, where you are at all times. Like understand every state isn't the same. When you're in New York, there's different laws. When you're in Georgia, there's different laws. Texas, Alabama, like California. Even something as small as weed, marijuana.
Right.
Like understand what you're dealing with when you ride down the street and you might have an ounce of weed in your pocket. Now you probably can do that in California, but if you in Georgia, certain parts of Atlanta now you can do it.
You can have. See, my thing is this: if you got an ounce, just go ahead and throw a gram out
Right.
the window.
Is it anything under an ounce?
Just to make sure it's 27 grams, and that's pretty much every state will allow you to have up to 27 grams. Once you get 28, that's an ounce, right? So when it's an ounce, it becomes a felony count. It stops becoming a possession charge. It becomes a intent to distribute charge. Because if you have an ounce, you're not going to smoke all of that in one chance. But for whatever reason, that 1 gram makes a difference, right? So now if you got 27 grams or 28 grams when you buy a zip, right, or an ounce or whatever y'all want to call it, right, whatever you want to call it, take a gram out and toss it. You know what I mean? And just do something just to make sure that you get that misdemeanor versus that complete felony charge. And also my thing is this, man, you probably shouldn't be riding around with it in the first place. I'm gonna keep it funky. But sometimes if you gotta go pick it up, I understand how it is, man. But that goes back to knowing your rights, because that's the first thing they're gonna say when they pull you over. Or I smell something in the car. You know what I mean? If you can put it in your trunk, put it in your trunk, in your gas tank. If you can put it in a jar, a lid. They got little things you can go to Starship or whatever and put your stuff in, whatever. Just whatever you can do to try to conceal the smell and the odor, whatever you got to do. If you just can't stop smoking weed, bro, like, and don't smoke in the car. Like, bro, smoke when you get where you're going. Stop smoking in the car, because the first thing they're going to do is say, well, I smelled weed, that's why I pulled him over. They didn't smell anything. But if they find weed, now, probable cause, now I got right to search your car and all this good stuff. And it's like, okay, well, boom, you fucked yourself, bro, because you didn't do your due diligence in protecting yourself at the same time. So it's about knowing your rights, like you said before, in every state. And if you have to have that weed, making sure that I don't smoke in my car, because it's really not even worth it. You shouldn't be smoking inebriated or doing anything inebriated in the car anyway. You know what I mean? But it's very important that, as a person, bro, you look out for yourself, man, especially if you got kids or just you got a job, you got stuff to lose, bro.
And especially if you're black.
Especially if you're black. You don't get that. Right.
One thing I want to point out about this movie is they believed an actual white criminal over an innocent black man.
Right. Taxpayer.
They knew he was innocent.
Owner, family man.
Yep.
They would rather work with this white criminal to take down an innocent black man.
Yep.
Everyone knew he was innocent. Everyone.
Yep.
So that's all I'm saying.
With no evidence.
But
they've been doing it since the beginning of time. But it also goes back to the basis of what the police were started for, which is slave catchers.
It ain't never going to change.
It's the same tactics, though. The same tactics now, except now we don't care what color we get as long as you poor, right? Mm-hmm. But we prefer the darker poor if we have to choose, though, because we know we can get still the same thing, right? Free labor, cheap labor, if not free, right?
And get black people off the street.
Exactly, man. So that's just something that we have to be cognizant of when we are out in our day-to-day. Like, bro, if what I'm doing is get me locked up today, let me not do that shit. You know what I mean? Or let me find a way to where I don't get locked up, which means, okay, if I smoke weed, bro, if you smoke weed, I'm going to keep saying this, bro, don't smoke in the car. Don't give them nothing to smell. If it's a ticket, just take the ticket. Just take the ticket. Don't argue with these people, man. You don't have to say too much. And just say, look, man, what's the reason for you stopping me? They got to tell you that. They might not tell you that. But if there's no need to tell what the fuck you got going on in your life. Just give them your license. All that comes back, man, I'm just trying to go home. I'm just trying to go home. I don't know what's going on. I'm just trying to go home. Because if you keep it brief and short and they see that most of the time, unless you got an asshole and he just want to take you out the car anyway, then you shouldn't be having the weed in the car in the first place. But definitely don't give them anything to pull you over, have your registration correct, have your tail lights working and all that shit, man. But then sometimes I understand it's just not going to fucking matter what you do. when you black.
And if they already put you over anyway, they already got a motive. Especially if they put you over for no reason. So if you're black, it's really just all about self-control.
Oh, yeah.
Because they might get you. 50% of the time, they probably going to get you anyway, but you don't want to give them something else to go to a higher up with.
Take that ticket, bro, and get probation and just pay that shit off monthly.
You don't want to do, now he was resisting or he was,
Absolutely.
It ain't even worth it.
You arguing with fools.
Just be aware of what your surroundings are and what you got going on. And also just keep in mind, like, with that movie, it was facts. Like, everything that happened, it really happened. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was a true story. So, my love goes out to Johnny D and Brian Stevenson.
Absolutely.
He stood up and kept fighting for 30 plus years for that man. He's still out there doing his thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
over 60 people released from death row from the work that you did. We appreciate you, Brian Stevenson, man. I think that's awesome, man. And stay out of Alabama if you don't gotta go there.
Stay out of all these southern states. They crazy down here.
It's fucked up down here.
Yeah, man.
It's crazy down
here.
here.
Go see that movie though. Everybody go see that.
Most definitely, highly recommend it.
That shit reminded me of the last time I was in Alabama, which I'll never go back to that fucking state again. I used to work for this company called Nielsen TV Ratings, right? So what you do is, you install this stuff in these houses or whatever the fuck, right? And you capture the TV ratings, right? So you capture demographics and all this stuff, and you got a field area, and you got to maintain all of this stuff, and it's so many things that they do in order to capture TV ratings. Okay, boom. So you go to these houses, they don't care where they send you, right? Keep that in mind. So I'm in a little town called Hoover, Alabama, and then I drive to some little podunk town. It was like I can't think of it now, but it's like Bessemer or something like that. Anyway, but so I go and then the tornado hit. So I said, well, let me get up out of here before the tornado goes. So I'm flying back home. I'm already nervous, and I pull up back in Hoover to a pizza shop. And so I'm like, yeah, man, let me go ahead and get some pizza. I'm hungry. I just drove away from this tornado touchdown, whatever. So I'm tired. Now I go in there. I wait in line. My little 15 minutes, a long line or whatever. He gets to me and he was like, oh, well, we closed. I'm like, damn, bro, you gonna let me sit in line and not tell me? So I'm like, okay, man. Okay, cool, man. All right, no biggie. So I turn around and then I see the person behind me like, oh, y'all closed? And we're no, we just don't serve his kind. So I said, oh, shit. So I said, what you mean you don't serve my kind? You mean the get money kind, the kind that pay for shit kind? What you mean you don't serve my kind? What you mean you don't serve my kind? He's like, well, we just don't serve your kind. So now I'm looking at him. He got a big old thing full of snuff, right? Orange, like he was a redhead beard. So I'm like, man, you know what? I whoop this nigga ass. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I'm like, you know what? They don't deserve my presence. They don't deserve my time, right?
Not your money either.
Or my money, because my money is good. You know what I mean? Because if you know me, bro, you know if I like a restaurant, I'm going to shop there almost every day or every week and eat the same thing every time, right? So I'm about to leave. And so the lady behind me was like, well, no, I don't want to eat. If you're not going to serve him, I don't want to eat. And he was like, well, don't worry about him. He's just a black boy. You know what I mean? You don't have to leave because one black person, da-da-da. So there were black people who were eating there. And apparently what was crazy was he served them, I guess, because he knew who they were. And me, if you from Atlanta, you know it's different types of black people, right? So in Atlanta, we're a little more boisterous than other black people in other places. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because we just got that freedom.
We got the freedom, and we live in a city where we've had black mayors and black APS, public school people, and black sheriffs and stuff like that. But anyway, so I'm like, no, I'm not gonna let this go. Let me see why exactly. You know, so I turned back around and I said, so now you done lost them, the person behind me, and I'm gonna sit in front of your door until I stop you from getting any more money. Because I don't want no pizza now. I'm not gonna get you my dollars. So you gonna do that? I'm gonna call the police. Well, go ahead and call them and tell them how you denied me service at your restaurant after I tried to pay you. But go ahead. He was like, well, man, you don't get out my store. So I was like, you know what? At this point, you know, a king got to do king things. And dealing with peasants in a certain way like that, you know what? Let me go ahead and leave, man. And so that was a Wednesday night. And
what
I was leaving.
Was this, if you remember?
This was Hoover. I don't even remember. It was like Allie's. Damn, it's like Allie May or some bullshit. It was like some redneck pizza for the most part, bro. But it was right next to the hotel. And I had, like I said, I just ran from this tornado. It was raining like crazy. And I don't know if anybody's ever been to Alabama or whatever, but if you go southwest, wherever Bessemer is, whatever the fuck. But anyway, so I'm like, man, fuck it, man. I drive the car back to the hotel. So Thursday, I wake up, I'm like, all right, I gotta go do another far drive somewhere in the sticks, and now like your spirit's depressed because you like, man, is everybody gonna be like this? Not to mention the house I went to early in the day. Now we all have code switching, right? Y'all know what I mean by code switching?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So how I talk with my people is a different way.
I'm talking on the job.
But when I called her, I say, hey, my name is Marcus Avery, and I would like to schedule an appointment with Nielsen TV Ratings to come see what's going on with your system. And she was like, oh, okay. She thought I was a white person. So, all right, I show up. She calls Nielsen like, yeah, this dude say he with Nielsen. Now, mind you, I got a big old badge, lanyard, and a shirt that says Nielsen for situations like this because it happened. You know what I'm saying? So I'm letting them know, like, yeah, I'm with Nielsen. And I said, I tell you what, you on the phone with him? Tell him to call me on the Nielsen phone, and then I'll answer, then you know it's me. And she's like, well, okay. And I was like, and I heard Mike was like, Mark, is that you? I was like, yeah, just call so I can just get in and just fix whatever's going on. So I had to get it done because I had nothing to do. I was taking no field to her. So anyway, boop. And I'm like, yeah, this is me. How you doing? And we on three-way, and I'm leaving. I'm like, yeah, this is me. I talked to you on the phone earlier. I told her. She's like, oh. And she was like, well, the last two guys couldn't fix it. I don't know why you gonna fix it. I said, that's why they sent me here, because I'm a genius. And the other guys ain't. So I fixed it in 5 minutes. I was out. She's like, well, I feel so bad. I was so mean to you. I said, well, next time you see a black person, I ain't gonna let everybody in your house, but be nicer. You know what I mean? So that's how I started that day. Then I ended that day with the pizza story. And then the next day I had a flat. So it was like God was telling me, bro, get the flat, get the fuck. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know what I mean? So Friday I did a little fix or whatever, and I got the hell on back to Atlanta. And he was like, you want to stay Saturday? No. Then I talked to the manager, like, oh, they sent you out there? No, man, I wouldn't have sent you out there if you would have told me that, because I only send my white reps out there. You know what I mean? Yeah, let me get
that. Still goes on.
But that's my little story, man. But that's Alabama, man. But make sure you guys do go see Just Mercy. It is a brilliant movie. It's a true story, man, and it's awesome, man. Anybody else got something to say before we take it on? Y'all straight? All right, I done talked y'all ass off. Anyway, man. Anyway, we love you.
Be a good person.
Be a good person, man. And thanks for watching. See y'all on the next one. Oh, also follow us on all social media. Subscribe at the link below on YouTube. You dig what I'm saying? All right. Peace. Oh, and like too. Damn. Like.
Wait, we done fucked this whole. Do the outro again.